Welcome back to the Beauty Official Podcast. I'm Evan Ross Katz, ready for the first poke. I'll just let that land for a minute. Today I'm back with the Beauty's hatchet men, multi-talented theater, film, and television stars Anthony Ramos and Jeremy Pope. Anthony, Jeremy, we are back again. I enjoyed sitting down with you guys so much last time. I was like, I think we need to reconvene.
Let's go.
We're here to talk about episode 8, but I think we can't talk about episode 8 without rewinding the tape a little bit to episode 7.
Yes.
Our last conversation, you guys were talking about your friendship with one another. And then in episode 7, we come to see a friendship really develop between your two characters. I'm wondering what it was like to have your friendship in real life be, in some way brought into the show.
I mean, I think what was interesting about these two characters in this world is there's this like fatherly component that gets kind of heavily woven in this episode specifically. It was interesting having this scene that starts as us clowning around, eating junk food, to then really asking him to open up. And I think it was really cool that his character does. He takes a moment to reflect and kind of try to point me in the direction of how he's arrived at that hotel in that moment.
Right. And what about for you?
It just helps when you know someone for a long time. We don't have a father-son relationship in real life, but we have like a brotherly bond in real life. And I think that you can be real with your homie.
Yeah.
And then you get dialogue and it's just kind of like you're just still talking to your homie, but just as a different person.
Yeah.
And it makes it a little easier to just let go, and be vulnerable. I didn't know how far we were going to get with the assassin's backstory, but I was happy that we got all this information about him and, that we got the flashback scene and we got to see him before he got the beauty and what happened to him before, and then understanding his relationship with his son, and then understanding, right, like that he calls and he sends money, and understanding the fact that he lives his life alone. There's no story about him dating anyone. You don't even hear about him sleeping with anyone really in the show or anything. Like, there's nothing like that.
Which is so funny because so many of the stories that we do see about people wanting to take the beauty are predicated on the idea that they want to have sex. They want to be hotter. And in your instance, it's like there's a necessity to take this because of a circumstance.
He essentially needed it to heal physically. Some people need it to heal mentally, right? Or emotionally. They're like, when I get this shot, all my problems will be gone.
Right.
I think that's the common denominator between everyone who is taking this drug.
Right.
But 80% of his body's burned, and he's like trying to live a double life and trying to still be a dad and be a husband as much as he can and work for this guy, this crazy tech billionaire psychopath.
Right.
He finds Jeremy and it's just like, yo, you might be able to heal a part of me.
Yeah.
Or at least put a Band-Aid on a part of on a wound that's been open for a long time that I haven't been able to quite heal.
I find it so interesting when you have these wild characters that are doing crazy shit across the world and killing and slashing and finding joy in it. But when you have these moments of still where you get to really see someone for a second and go, oh, that's where you come from, or that's what you're scared of. Tell me how I got so lost. In a weird way, that's when you can start to empathize and understand someone who can make vastly different choices than you, but there's a humanizing factor to it where you're like, oh, you're just lost. Or in this case, like, we're both filling a void for each other.
Right. Well, in talking about the assassin, we learned about this bad psych evaluation that happened at some point. And I'm wondering, what do you think it was in that psych evaluation that made it bad?
I mean, it could have been his PTSD or like how severe it was. He was a soldier, right? Him fighting and him killing before, and then probably him almost being killed probably a couple times. Him having to go back into society and find his way in the world, and then him failing a psych eval, and then they're like, yeah, I'm sorry, we can't do anything for you. We can't hire you. And he's like, all right, well, I guess, I still have these skills, and the only people that will hire me are these CEOs and these billionaires that need protection. So
Got to get to work.
I got to, I got to get it where I can. I got to get it somewhere.
Bills are paid. Bills need to get paid.
Got
to be paid. You feel me?
Yeah, I mean, like, so
Obviously, you two really bond in episode 7.
Yeah.
And in episode 8, Antonio's given him a lot of information, but he's withheld one key detail, which is the pesky, the combustion of it all.
You really think there's a version of any of this where you just walk out alive?
Oh,
Oh, he really doesn't know, does he?
Why do you think your character didn't want to be forthcoming about that kind of critical detail?
I mean, I think he's starting to genuinely care about Jeremy, and I don't know if he wants to tell him you're gonna die.
In a way, he still has the power over my life in a weird, because I think we meet him in the top and he chooses, I'm not gonna kill you now.
Right.
But he ultimately knows what his fate is. So you could just let me rock out and it's like, well, he has an expiration
And he'll
date.
die
And he'll just
anyway
die
at
anyways.
some
And
point.
like,
So
so
I'll
it's like
just-
the job is
yeah.
still going to get done.
right.
Which is funny because it seems like this benevolent act of like, I'll let you live, when really
Yeah.
it's like, I'll let you live, but there's a bomb on you.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
like, I'll
yeah,
let you live,
yeah.
but let's go to Applebee's and get a little bite real quick.
Right.
You know, and then that turns into, let's go over here and I'll teach you to do this. And I felt like he gonna pop anyways. Like, I don't even have to work that
It's
hard for
almost
this
like
one.
having a fling and you know it's gonna explode at some point, but
right.
you're just like,
It's
I'll just
complicated.
well.
this is gonna die off at some point anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna enjoy this while you'll be my sidekick, you'll be my fake son for a little while.
Yeah, yeah.
And also, like, what other relationships does he have?
Right.
At
I
the end
think
of the
either
day?
of them. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, you lose that and then what?
You never gave a shit about me, huh? Why you stringing me along with this father-son, take the lead bullshit? You the one that got fucked with your old bitch ass.
If you want my help, I suggest a speedy change in tone. A lot of what was happening on this show was being figured out as we
In
were
real
going
time,
too.
right.
Like it wasn't like everything was like things were being, even the transformations. The transformation was one thing on the paper, and then I think Ryan came in one day and was like, "Yeah, I hate it. Like I don't like."
Right. It was like right when rehearsals, he was like, it's all wrong.
It's all wrong, right?
We're like-
He said something like that.
I'm like on my knees in the carpet, like, so no crawling. Then he was like, I see it this way. I mean, Ryan's one of those people, like, he gets in the room and you watch kind of like the spirit move him. Like, he has to see the thing. He's a very visual person. And he won't stop until it's visually correct. Even the assassin, you can have an interpretation of, okay, the assassin looks like this, wears this, but then he throws on an eye patch. And
Even
then
the eye patch was
like,
something that was, the eye patch was just a thing that came about as we did the hair and makeup test, and we tried different things and we tried different shades and we tried variations of different, covering one eye, but like there was like a half metal glasses kind
Yeah,
of
that was
thing that
kinda
I
dope,
tried
too.
on. I don't know if you remember that.
I remember that was dope.
Then there was an eye patch with no slits, right? Where I was truly could only see out of one eye. Then I was like, yo, it'd be nice to have something where I could see at least a little bit out of this eye. And then,
It's a little sign.
you know what I'm saying? Just a little, give me some.
Give me some.
Just truly. But then there was, then we landed on this eye patch with these slits that actually was the coolest looking thing
Right.
out of them all. And then it ended up being a thing that I wore for the whole show.
Right.
We didn't know. We were figuring.
I remember that. It was like, should he wear the eye patch? And it was like, Ryan likes the eye patch. Like,
And we
keep
were
the eye
always
patch. So
asking,
then it
like,
was
okay, eye patch or no eye patch. Like every episode, we were like, eye patch or no eye patch. When do we show the eye? Like that,
Right,
that, like
right.
that.
Do we show
Yeah,
the
You know what I'm
is
saying?
the
Like
eye?
it wasn't
Yeah,
until
yeah.
episode 7 that we were like, yo, that's when we review the eye, when he has that scene with Evan and we have that face off, and all of a sudden I take them glasses off, we see it in a close up for the first time. What do you think? And I'm showing it to Evan and you see Evan visibly freaked out. Everything was kind of being discovered as we
Open to
went.
play, I think, with
Yeah.
the Ryan. And you could read the page and be like, oh, someone's turning into this, or someone's now transforming, or
Right.
my like it's the Wild Wild West in the best way. I think you just have to like stay open.
I imagine that's kind of exciting, getting to be in a space where it's like the energy is that kinetic, where you're making
Right.
these decisions that are hugely important. I mean, the transformations are a gigantic part of this show. And the idea that the process is that malleable, that we're figuring out in real time,
Yeah,
strikes me as very exciting. Did it feel that way for you both?
It was. I mean, I think. Well, first of all, I was butt naked during that transformation.
Butt
so
ass naked. My
you got
man,
it's,
they
you
had
got
my
to
man
bring
running around out here.
just cakes, just like but it's like there's a level of vulnerability that it requires for you to one be, I think, photographed or filmed, nude and feeling comfortable in your body and using the body in the space or whatever. And it reminds me of theater. Me and Ann, we've done theater, and sometimes you be in a black box with no props, no nothing, and you make the world of the story come to life. It requires a different part of you. You don't lean on the Hollywood factor of like everything's already planned. It keeps you on your toes and it keeps it visceral. And I think that's when some of the most exciting lines happen. A lot of our good stuff, I feel, or best stuff, was improv, was us, Ryan, saying like, just say what feels
flow.
right. Watching your leader, your visionary, Ryan, do that gives you the ultimate permission to do that, and it just made it more fun and exciting because you were on your toes in a very real way. You didn't know what was going to be asked of you in that day. You know, I thought the transformations was going to be somebody on the floor doing it for me, and we get my close up, and it was not that.
so.
Those stunt doubles were chilling on the side while I was in that net. You feel me? I was in that net.
Out the sack.
Listen,
The character's called the Assassin, so I think we could have expected some fight scenes, but we get a big one at the end of this episode. And I'm particularly struck by the fact that it's hand-to-hand combat. You know, it's like, I feel like he's the assassin. I'm thinking, you know, he's gonna bust out a gun and just end this. Talk to me about what you make of that decision.
I love the fact that we got to throw down like that. Like me and Evan, you know, we didn't use, I think the doubles were only used for one small, like, gag. That was it. You know, I think he and I did the whole fight. That was a tough day because we only rehearsed that fight one time weeks before. And we didn't even do the whole thing. We did like a piece, like a third of it, maybe. And that was as far as we could get in that rehearsal. So we came in at the top of the day, not knowing it, and learning it piece by piece and then shooting it. Like, okay, here's the first third of this fight. Now, we're teaching this to you. Okay, all right, guys, so you ready to shoot? So we got to do it. And then we, you know, thankfully, like, I think there was something to that uncertainty and that adrenaline that kind of took over me and Evan and, you know, helped us, I guess, in, you know, with our performances. And at the end of it, we were like, damn, bro, that was amazing.
To close us out, I want to tease a little bit about what's to come. Episode 9 is very big and quite action-packed. And is there anything without, you know, outright spoiling that you can tease about the coming episode?
what can I tease? There just might be some more transformations.
There just might be.
There just might be some more transformations.
Definitely gonna be some more transformations, and it's pretty just jarring to say the least.
Expect the unexpected.
Yeah. You definitely ain't seeing this one coming.
We didn't even see it. I remember reading it and be like,
Thank you. That is an adequate tease. I've never seen one. Thank you both so much. This is such a pleasure.
Thanks, Evan.
That's all for this time. On the next podcast, I'm dishing the dirt with actor Jessica Alexander about her jaw-dropping transformation moment and more in FX's The Beauty. Watch new episodes of The Beauty on FX or stream on Hulu or Hulu on Disney Plus for bundle subscribers. Be sure to rate, review, and follow The Beauty official podcast wherever you watch or listen. I'm Evan Ross Katz, and I'll see you next time.